Welcome to the Put the Word on It podcast with Pastor Randall Knighton. Lean in, listen up, and prepare to learn something from the Word of God. Here's Pastor Knighton with today's show. Be blessed.
Welcome to another edition of the Put the Word on It show podcast. I'm Pastor Randall Knighton, your host, and want to just thank you for tuning in and being a part of this podcast and listening in, and even just, your comments, questions are always welcome. Please make sure you send those in to wordonitshow@gmail.com. One of the questions that I get a lot of times too, and especially here recently, in light of current administration, and again, I want to be very, very clear as we start, going down a political road here. My allegiance is to Jesus Christ in all things, and so, I'm an American citizen, born and raised in America. So again, I do have, my allegiance is there, but my allegiance is to Jesus Christ first and foremost and only. And so, but I do want to deal with something that I do get, have gotten questions on here, especially recently, which is on illegal immigration. What is the church's stance, or how should Christians view illegal immigration? Now, again, I want to clarify, because the key word in here is illegal. Oftentimes what has happened is in the immigration issue, people have taken sides and even used some pretty loose analogies, trying to say that, even Jesus Christ wouldn't be allowed into the country or what. Now, listen, first of all, Jesus Christ owned everything. Let's get that straight. So he has access to wherever. I understand the point behind it, but you're missing the point. The point is very simply this, is that in Romans chapter 13, verses 1 through 7, I'm not going to read all of them, but verse 1 says, "Let everyone be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except that which God has established." The authorities that exist have been established by God. Now listen, as believers, first and foremost in Jesus Christ, we are to obey the laws of the land unless those laws ask us to sin. If we find that a law is unjust, we are then to work diligently to change said laws. We are not to obey any law that causes us to sin, because again, we must obey God rather than man. But if a law is unjust, i.e., some may feel like the immigration process, or even just immigration in general, is an unjust thing, we should seek to eradicate those unjust laws. Now, we have a system in place that has been established called voting. I find it almost comical that many people who have a real problem with the way the governing authorities govern don't vote or participate at all in the political process. How are you going to get things changed? And so that becomes part of the issue. Now, illegal immigration is an issue. Make no mistake, every country has an immigration policy. So thus, if it is illegal to come into the country and not become a citizen or seek the pathways for citizenship, then by no means do we attempt to right a wrong by doing something illegal. I am the first to say, though, I do believe in the age in which we live, we must make the immigration process, or the process of the path to citizenship, much more efficient and to be expedited in a much better way. Also, it should be done with empathy and compassion. Many people who do desire to migrate to this country are escaping death, poverty, poor health and living conditions, and looking for a better life. That's part of the human condition. As a matter of fact, America probably should be the one country that should be at least the most compassionate and empathetic when it comes to immigrants coming in and being made citizens, following the laws, of course. The reason why is because many of the people, matter of fact, all people that are here in America, minus those who were part of the African diaspora, meaning African Americans, basically, all came here voluntarily and willingly. The African American community is the only community that did not come voluntarily. And so all Americans should be empathetic or sympathetic to that simple fact, because, again, all races except one came here voluntarily, so they should understand or have compassion to that same race, to other races who are doing the same, coming voluntarily. Now, I'll be the first to say this. If you're escaping criminal prosecution, if you commit crimes, all of those kind of things, absolutely, you should be returned to the country by which you have come from. That does not make me, lack compassion or anything else like that. Here's what I would challenge anybody who listens to this podcast to do before you turn me off. If your household was America, the four walls that make up wherever you live, the door that makes up wherever you live, if your household or your house, your apartment, wherever you live was America, how would you run it? Would you run it with very liberal economic and liberal politics? Would you just allow any and everybody to come in and not worry about how something gets paid for? Or would you be extremely conservative? I'm not saying all liberals think that way, but would you be very conservative? That, look, I'm going to be selective about who comes in to my house. And if we're real, many of you not letting anybody in. I'm just being honest, right? But even if you did, those who came in are going to work and contribute, because you and I both know if you have 5 people in a household and you look up and there are 10 people, resources now are being depleted at a much larger, faster rate. So where is this increase going to be offset? And that's some of the things that some talk about with immigration. And that's why the selective process is necessary. Number one, I don't know anybody that's just going to invite somebody to come into their dwelling with criminal activity in mind unless they are a criminal themselves. Now, let me be the first to say there are a lot of people who stand on the soapbox and preach against illegal immigration who have illegal workers working for them. Shame on you for being so hypocritical. You can stand and pound your chest on television, but if we were to look at some of the people who are working for you and in some of the properties you own, you know those folks are not legal. But illegal immigration suits your needs then, but not your political position when you're amongst your buddies. Now, in your household, you got to contribute. And let me put the word on it, since it's put the word on the show. The word itself said, any that would not work should not eat. That's what the word says. Not Randall. That's what the word says. So if you're going to come into the country, if you're going to come in and be a part of this, and you're able-bodied to work, you should be working. Bible even tells us, give to Caesar what's Caesar's. In other words, pay taxes. We pay taxes for the governing authorities. The Bible even challenges us. This is one of the reasons why we pay taxes. It goes on in verse 6 of Romans chapter 13. It said, this is also why you pay taxes, for the authorities are God's servants who give their full time to governing. Give to everyone what you owe them. If you owe taxes, pay taxes. If revenue, then revenue. If respect, then respect. If honor, then honor. That's verse 7. So again, pay taxes, and don't give me, well, I pay taxes because I pay sales tax. Anybody out there who pays income tax knows there is a significant difference between income tax and sales tax. Don't even give me that I pay taxes. You're playing semantics with words. No, if you're going to come into the country, come in legally. That's the church's stance. That's Christian stance. We should abide by the laws. Come in legally. Become a U.S. citizen. Become a citizen to contribute to the tax base because you're using up resources. There's nothing unbiblical about that. I promise you, you probably don't have no freeloaders just sitting at your house. You don't have people just sitting around doing nothing. They have to contribute in some way to pay their freight and pay their way. And then on top of that, again, yes, this is a great land of opportunity. God has blessed America beyond belief. And I do love America because I was born in America. However, I'm a Christian first. And I know that there's opportunities for blessings in this place, and we shouldn't shut those off. We should be kind to foreigners. The Bible challenges us to be that way, to do so. But again, when those foreigners, it's interesting because when you read in Exodus, when God was talking to his people, he reminds the Israelites that they were once foreigners in Egypt and to be kind to foreigners, be compassionate. But he tells also to make sure those foreigners fall in line, that they're to celebrate the Passover, they're to do some of these other things. So again, here's our stance as a church and as Christians. And I'm speaking for Spirit of God Christian Church. I ain't gonna say I'm speaking for everybody, but I will say this. As a Christian believer, when I look in the text challenges us. Any that should not work, any that don't work should not eat. Challenges us to do that. It challenges us to obey the law, to be legal, to do the things that are right according to the law, as long as it's not asking us to sin. If it is unjust, we work to change that, right? We pay our taxes. We do the things that we're supposed to do. We don't commit crimes. It says if any of us is suffer, it shouldn't suffer as a murderer, as a liar, as a thief. I mean, we shouldn't be committing crimes as Christians. What we should be doing is driving people toward Jesus Christ. So look, even in the process of becoming a citizen, we should offer compassion and empathy. It was horrible to watch parents being separated from children when some illegal immigrants were being rounded up. I mean, come on, as a human being, you know you don't separate a parent from a child. There's a way to do that. You just don't do it. Just to have a heart as a human being, you just don't do some things. Some things are just common sense that shouldn't be done. And it's the way you go about them. Again, if we operate in the love of Christ, this is not a problem, right? But again, we have to challenge people that if you're going to come in, then they have to conform to the way things are in America. God did the same thing with the Israelites. He told them that be kind to the foreigners, receive them in such a way, but they got to celebrate the Passover. They have to celebrate certain things. In other words, there are certain things that they must fall in line with doing. Again, a lot of people don't believe, or a lot of people will take harsh stances about this, that, and that. Listen, I understand people have a native language from where they come from, but the dominant language in America is English. So again, that's a part of the conforming to that. That's not asking you to sin. It's just asking you to understand the place that you're migrating to. Also, should we be sympathetic and empathetic to the fact that that does take time? Absolutely. There should be a level of patience with those who are migrating to this country. But when you want to be a citizen, what you're saying is, I want to be a part of that. And that's exactly what that means, that I have to contribute. There are some parts that I'll have to conform to, some parts I have to assimilate to. Again, as long as I'm not sinning against the God of Christianity, that's one of the things then obviously I don't have to do. I should work to become a part. If you look at a lot of the immigrants who have been in this place, they've made great contributions. And again, they came here voluntarily. But again, what about those who have come here involuntarily? We have made great contributions as well. But we have assimilated. We have come to a place, even to a fault, I'll be the first to say, in some ways. However, being a part of this country means then that I must do it legally. I must do it the right way. I must understand that the process has to be changed and be made much more efficient. We shouldn't be cold. We shouldn't be callous. We shouldn't be heartless. We should represent the God that we serve, especially us as believers, realizing that he understands that God knows that there are going to come a time when people are going to need to migrate and leave some horrible conditions, and being able to come to a place where they're going to be received with love, with empathy, with compassion, and all of those kind of things. Again, open borders, you have to look at the security aspect. America has been hit with terrorism. America has been hit with crime and massive things that have gone on that have cost American lives. So I understand that. I think each and every one of us, if your house has ever been broken into, you probably have more security measures. If houses around you have been broken into, you probably heighten some of your security measures. There should be a security component to this. Absolutely. There are people who want to come in and not do the right thing. But again, we as believers must understand, not only must we abide by the law, not only must we offer compassion that God has, but we also have to be, and Jesus was very clear with this, we have to be wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove. And I think truthfully, that's the best way to handle illegal immigration. You can still keep it illegal, but make becoming a legal citizen a much more efficient process. Efficiency does not mean that you have to lack thoroughness. It doesn't mean that you have to lack or you have to slack on security. It just means making it better. We waste a lot of government money on a lot of stuff that's not necessary. We can make this process better. Also, we need to provide security at the borders because, again, we do not want those who mean us ill and mean us harm or who are escaping the consequences for some of their behavior actions getting in, those who coming in to damage or cause hurt and pain in this place to do so. And again, we have to be judicious in how we handle and good stewards over how we do handle the tax money that's in place. Again, the greater influx of people means then there is a greater burden on the taxpayers who are here to foot the bill for health care, for roads and police and fire, emergency responders, things of that nature, schools. All of these things are impact. That's why this process has to be one of great stewardship, one of great effective and efficient way of doing it. But again, it still must be legal. It has to still be legal. If you are illegal, you have to take the deliberate steps to become legal, because that is what God requires of all of us. Now, remember, if your household was the United States of America as a country, how are you operating that when it comes to things like illegal immigration, when it comes to making change, when it comes to the economics and how you handle your finances? If we as Christians are operating in those things, yes, we're going to be welcoming. Yes, we're going to be loving, but also we're going to be good stewards. Yes, we're going to challenge people to hold and pull their weight, to do their part. And then we're also going to operate in that with compassion and with love. Some of this stuff is really kind of common sense, but some of it we have to make sure it just may not fit everybody's staunch political agenda. Truthfully, the line is really right there in the middle somewhere. Yes, there should be some concern, there should be some accountability, but there also should be some compassion. And we have to realize that as well. Make the most of every opportunity. If somebody looks at America as a land of opportunity and they can come and they're willing to contribute to it continuing to be a land of opportunity, we should give them that opportunity to do so. If they're involved in criminal activity, if they're mean to do us harm, the discernment of Jesus Christ is a marvelous thing. That's why he tells us, be wise as a serpent, harmless as a dove. That should really be our immigration policy. We should be wise as a serpent. Yeah, we should secure borders. Yes, we should try to keep out those who mean us harm and not good. But we should be as harmless as a dove, which means we still should have arms open. We still should be willing to allow people to come in and make a better life for themselves, to escape political regimes and criminal activity and forced into sexual slavery and various other forms of slavery. We should be willing to do that. And we should look at the value that they have or that they would bring to this country as well. It's kind of interesting when somebody has a particular skill or trait or something that we value. It's pretty easy for them to be brought over as citizens, but it's the average person that has a hard time. And I just think our hearts need to be open. And if we're going to detain people, keep families together in the process. Just use some common sense. Don't separate children from their families. Also, again, if you know that somebody's not trying to do that and they're trying to beat the system out of things and become a burden on the tax base, that's something you have to challenge them and call them out to do it, because that's not something that God would approve of as well. Everybody pull their weight. Everybody do their part. So again, the church's stance, Christianity's stance, is that we're going to be wise as a serpent, harmless as a dove. We can't endorse any illegal activity, but we have to be kind to foreigners. But foreigners also have to come in and conform to some of the things that we're doing as well to make sure when you look at it, when we do this thing the way that God outlines it, it actually works out well. Somebody can leave a bad situation and come to a better situation and make a better life for themselves, their kids, and for generations to come. The country is not hurt by it, but helped by them, and the country gets an opportunity to help them have a life that they didn't have before. That's God's plan of immigration. And if we can make that part legal, then that's where God will want us to rest and reside. And that's neither Republican nor Democrat, just Christ. God bless you. God keep you.
Thank you so much for listening to the Put the Word on It podcast. Feel free to send in your questions for future broadcasts to wordonitshow@gmail.com. We would also like to thank our sponsors, AM/PM Concrete Cutting and Ed Jeffrey State Farm Insurance.